Welcome to the 1930s. For the most part, the culture in the 1930s reflected a sort of desire to escape from the harsh realities of the Great Depression. And as a result, businesses like books and the movies especially found great prosperity in this. Pieces like The Wizard of Oz and horror films like Dracula with idealized main characters sought to escape from the reality of everyday life into a more beautiful world. This in turn ushered in a period in American cinema known as the Golden Age, which gave rise to Hollywood and produced some of the greatest performers of all time.
Don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
Likewise, the music of the 1930s also was very upbeat as a sort of escape from reality. Artists like Glenn Miller, Jack Benny, and Ella Fitzgerald were adored by the people, but perhaps most important was Benny Goodman, who repopularized jazz. But even more important to music was the popularization of the household radio. It was among many other inventions of this time that ultimately culminated in the 1939 World Fair being held in New York, where for the first time there was an exhibit specifically designed to look towards the future. Despite all the economic turmoil, literature, fashion, and art all found a way to continue to prosper.
Where there's music, how faint.
Many professional sports had to cut down on their spending due to the Depression, but examples of athletic excellence still emerged, and none was more paramount than New York Yankees ace Joe DiMaggio.
Mean a thing if you ain't got that swing. It don't mean a thing. All you gotta do is swing.
In 1929, disaster struck. The stock market crashed. Everyone was trying to sell their stock, and no one was buying. Bank speculators were quickly unable to pay back their loans, and countless Americans trying to withdraw their deposits were unable to get paid. And thus began the Great Depression. The unemployment rate reached a staggering 25%, and overproduction in both industry and agriculture contributed to a slow and stagnant economy. Perhaps the greatest example of this was the Western Dust Bowl. Overplowing and drought turned the topsoil into dust, and coupled with strong winds, created giant dust storms that devastated farms, forcing farmers to migrate to industrial cities in search of work.
Basically, 1920s were looking good. Mama could afford everything. Papa had a job. And, well, the stock market was booming. Then everything went bad. We couldn't afford anything. We didn't have anything.
In terms of politics, the pressing issue in the 1930s was who could lead America out of the Great Depression. With his laissez-faire policy and self-reliance theories, Herbert Hoover proved he wasn't the man for the job. So the American people elected Franklin Delano Roosevelt, a man with a plan, whose New Deal and presidency would come to define the 1930s.
Good afternoon. I'm here with LMGM News with a cameo appearance by resurrected ex-President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. How do you do, sir? So, coming in from this economic crisis, what did you think was going to be your plan to make this turn around? Oh, I see. So, being in an economic turmoil and all, how did you attempt to resolve these banking crisis that was going on? Yes, very interesting. Yes. Well, Mr. President, it appears we're running out of time, so it's been a pleasure. Well, it appears that Mr. FDR has died once again. This is LMGM News, and thank you for joining us.
Confidence and courage are the essentials of success in carrying out
FDR touched the hearts of the American people with his friendly rhetoric and fireside chats. He made it clear to them that it was his main goal to address and relieve the Great Depression. He directly addressed the problem of overproduction through acts such as the AAA and NIRA. And he attempted to address the problem of unemployment through organizations such as the CCC. The New Deal was an earnest and somewhat successful attempt at relieving the Great Depression. However, the president was not short of critics, and many disregarded his reforms as merely a collection of alphabet soup. Elsewhere in the world, a conflict was brewing. Fascist leaders such as Francisco Franco, Benito Mussolini, and Adolf Hitler were taking control not just in their countries, but in those that surrounded them. This would lay the seeds for World War II, the conflict that would come to define the decade to come.